Alright, so this video is a hard pill to swallow for people that want Infinity Ward to remove skill-based matchmaking, because you can tell by the title, they're not going to. Now, I'm not pretending to predict the future. Of course, I mean, they're likely not going to. But it's so unlikely that they would remove a form of skill-based matchmaking that it's not worth asking for anymore. Now, first, let me, of course, explain my opinion to everyone that's new here. Skill-based matchmaking, not a fan of it. I'm not into it for public games. New players can't get better, good players can never relax. It's a very bad system. It increases matchmaking times, matchmaking quality is usually lower in a game with heavy skill-based matchmaking instead of a more connection-based matchmaking system. And it really sucks for inconsistent players like me, because sometimes I'm playing my heart out and I'm trying really hard, and other times I'm not. But let's say it always wants to pair me up because of my stats, when my stats do not really represent my consistent performance. So yeah, I'm not a fan of it, I don't like it, but on the other side, and this is where people start to get mad at me, I understand it. And because I understand it, I can't get upset about it. Since most people are bad at Call of Duty, I do not think Infinity Ward or Activision, whoever's calling the shot there, I'm guessing it's both, but regardless, no one's going to hit a button that makes the majority of the player base have potentially harder games throughout their play session. YouTubers like Exclusive Ace have even said that they'd love to go for a tactical nuke, but it's hard when skill-based matchmaking constantly puts them against difficult opponents. But I can't expect, regardless of what I want, I cannot expect Activision or Infinity Ward to press a big red button that increases the likelihood of a bad player having to get a tactical nuke called on them and feel absolutely crushed by the game. The FPS market is way more competitive than it was back during Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1, and that whole era of the previous generation of games. FPS gaming is a lot more competitive with stuff like Siege and Overwatch and every Battle Royale game under the sun, and Battlefield and Battlefront, Titanfall, even Titanfall seeing a resurgence on PlayStation. And so developers are constantly battling for your time, and they're not going to get Little Timmy No Thumbs time if Little Timmy No Thumbs, let's just say 1 out of 4 games, he has to get his ass kicked by someone like Exclusive Ace, someone who technically is their job to play Call of Duty. To further the discussion here, to sort of fill out this video and to kind of make my point clear, I also have a bit of a problem with really exceptional pub stomping players getting mad that they have to try so hard when people that are not paid to play Call of Duty, when people that are not living off of Call of Duty, their skill is not really a part of their life, they're really just trying to have fun, those people could probably make a decent argument as to why they shouldn't have to go up against Exclusive Ace or Mark of J or any sort of pub stomping YouTuber, or at least someone that's capable of pub stomping. It is funny when YouTubers, they kind of get into their own heads, I think, where they think, well, you know, I shouldn't have to try this hard, but it's like, this is technically your job. Like, public match Call of Duty should be more casual, but you're gonna pretend like this isn't something you do the majority of your day, the majority of your week? Like, your job doesn't revolve around you getting good at Call of Duty, being good at Call of Duty, getting good gameplay? That's something you need to do, and you can focus on. Somebody that's just playing the game when they get home from work or school, you know, they really don't have that mentality. So to them, it feels like a waste of $60 after they've beaten the campaign and all the Spec Ops stuff, because the multiplayer constantly puts them up against difficult opponents, or even just 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 matches. It'd be very rough. But there's tons of nuances. Just go play private matches, you could say, to these newbie people that barely play. You could also just say, have a newbie people playlist for KDs under a certain point, and that would just encourage reverse boosting. But, you know, just go play party games, or go play hardcore mode or something. You could say 100 different things, and you could paint a bunch of different scenarios based on your perception and your experiences. Really what it comes down to is, they don't want to make the game too hard for new players. And the best way for them to do that without completely overhauling the game is to have skill-based matchmaking that sort of coddles bad players. All of this is under the context, though, that skill-based matchmaking is definitely in the game. And I'm sorry, in my opinion, it's still an assumption. The only thing we know is that it's an ever-changing system. And the YouTubers that have tested skill-based matchmaking aren't doing it on a large enough scale. And it could be a player-to-player basis, a region basis, it could be a number of different things that we don't know about. They have to keep that secret. If you don't know why, you're not paying attention. The moment people know the rules, they exploit them. That's what happens. So the matchmaking system is something that people can't exploit because the rules are going to change constantly. But for the sake of this video, we're going to assume that it exists in the ways that a lot of people complain about it. So if it exists in that way, and there's no conflicting evidence, and there's no conflicting stories and experiences, and the sample sizes are, good enough to test and see if that matchmaking system exists, okay, if that's what's going on, then they still are not going to just turn it off. Now, I do see some people saying reduce skill-based matchmaking, but the reason I'm making this short video is because I'm seeing people say that they need to remove it. Like, there's no matter what Infinity Ward does, they recently just released a page that lets you see everything they're currently working on in terms of bugs and fixes. They also been, really open about the fact that they're working on new maps, and they're adding creative class slots, they're increasing the kill feed size. And all everyone's saying is, well, just remove skill-based matchmaking. Doesn't matter if they make the game a flawless piece of software with no bugs and no glitches, and they fix everything and it's a perfectly performing game with no bugs, no glitches, no exploits, every weapon is perfectly balanced, they have to remove skill-based matchmaking. Maybe I'm being a little overdramatic, but that's what it looks like from my perspective. I think it's going to get to the point that it doesn't matter how much they communicate, how many bugs they fix, how much content they add, skill-based matchmaking will be the biggest stain. But in my opinion, they have no reason to remove it. Maybe they could reduce it for the higher skill players, maybe for the 1.8 KD players and above, maybe the 1.5 to 2 KD players, reduce it for them a little bit so that they're not always having to sweat it out. But of course, you could also just have a dynamic system in place, and that's the real problem with skill-based matchmaking, isn't it? Is it makes the entire community paranoid about the quality of their matches because they don't know what's dictating it. Their skill, the enemy's skill, their teammate's skill, or, a sort of behind-the-scenes matchmaking system. I don't think it's fair to discredit everything else Infinity Ward does because it's not skill-based matchmaking related. I don't think it's fair to assume that it's a single developer decision. It could honestly be a marketing decision. They could find that a skill-based matchmaking-based FPS game holds its newer players longer, which would just be monetary gain for them and suck for us, so I don't know. I'm not here to tell you, hey guys, it makes sense, so it's fine. I'm here to say it absolutely sucks, but it does make sense. And if that keeps you from playing the game, fine. And I've been very, very candid about that since this game's come out. If you don't like something because you believe it's in the game, or it's in the game, whatever it might be, and you don't like it, then stop playing. And the reason I'm so upfront with that is because that's what I had to do with several FPS games, and I don't think it's because they're technically bad. I don't think COD World War II, Black Ops 4, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, Titanfall 2's multiplayer, or Battlefront 2 are technically bad games. But I'm not going to play them because I don't enjoy them. I don't get enjoyment out of them. Doing well, doing poorly, they're not my thing. I might revisit them once in a while because I paid for them. They're installed, might as well. Maybe I can try to have a little bit of fun in it. But I'm not going to involve myself in the community if the game that the community is surrounding right now is not to my liking, because I'll just constantly demand the sun and be mad when I'm given the moon. Skill-based matchmaking is a stain on the Call of Duty community similar to 8 Thoughts fanbase, but there's a problem with demeaning or devaluing everything else Infinity Ward does because skill-based matchmaking is in the game. So, based on the assumption that it is 100% in the game, it's not an assumption, based on the fact, let's just say, it is a fact that it's in the game, okay? That's a fact, you're not gonna change it, and that doesn't devalue the rest of what Infinity Ward does. So for all of you saying that they just need to remove skill-based matchmaking, I just wouldn't hold your breath, so that's all I can say about that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, even though I don't really enjoy saying anything in this video because it always comes back and bites me in the ass. Of course, ideally, Activision and Infinity Ward to make a statement about skill-based matchmaking that's definitive, that will last us for the rest of the Call of Duty franchise, but that's not a reasonable expectation, and so I don't have it. I try to limit my expectations, especially when it comes to AAA gaming. If you're new to AAA gaming, I imagine it's more frustrating, but some of you act like you are, but I know you're not. My comment section should be a right proper cesspool. Go ahead and take a dip in. See you when I see you guys. Goodbye.